Can you just tell us who you are, what you do, all the things?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Sari Rose Barron, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, also EMDR certified and a consultant. And I have two kids that are 10 and 8 right now, two boys. And so I had been in solo private practice for about 13-ish years before I expanded to a group practice model, SoCal Individual Family and Trauma Therapy. It's in Southern California. And that's been a whole big adventure in itself, and it's grown really beautifully. And all of us have a trauma-informed lens, and that feels really kind of near and dear to my heart, especially as I'm building this parenting branch. Um,
Mhm.
and so we have 9 clinicians now. And so I know, yay.
It's such a big deal.
It is. And it just feels so good to know that people are receiving such good care.
Yeah.
Like that was my whole impetus of wanting to do that. But what brought me to you was that, I really have felt so passionate about expanding reach to parents in particular, because I've worked with so many parents in my practice, particularly in a trauma-informed way, like reparenting while parenting. But I wanted to kind of figure out a way to get more resources out to parents, especially in areas where I feel like are a little bit lacking in the parenting space.
Mhm.
So that's been a brand new adventure, and it's been very eye-opening of like how hard it is to do that, you know?
So I feel like you're bringing something that, so every time I say like, what would you guys like to see more of on Literally? What would you like to hear more of? Like that kind of thing. So much of the feedback I get is we actually want someone starting more from the beginning because it would be so interesting to see what it's like to build that piece, because I feel like there's always this story sometimes of like, oh, it's easy if you started, in 2021, but it's hard if you start now or whatever, right? And so I think people have always been like, one, I'm curious about that, and two, I want to see what that looks like now. So I feel like you have this really interesting kind of like dual angles that you're bringing to Literally. One is like what it means to build when you've already built something like very large and successful and all of that. Like 9 clinicians in a group practice is no joke. I mean, that is a large practice, right? um and then equally though, like you're kind of starting from the beginning in this other business. And so I think it's going to be like really interesting for people to get to see a little bit of both, and actually to get to see how like um having already done it almost makes it harder to start at the beginning.
That's been really like when you brought that to my attention, that's been pretty profound. Like this comparison thing that I
Mhm.
do around even like, just look zooming in financially at a lens, like, does this justify my time? Does this
Yeah.
justify this? And that's been really key. And like, I think it's also an important piece that like I didn't build the practice on social media. I didn't,
Yes.
right? So for me, this feels like like uncharted territory. I mean, I really had been a newbie when it came to social media beyond like maybe posting a few pics of my family on Facebook, I was like, okay, I'm gonna join the race, you know?
Yes.
So
That's
it's
such
been
an
a
important note because I feel like so many therapists now do build a caseload and a practice off of social. So you're really coming from like a different universe in some ways in how you've grown it like organically. You've grown it by being part of your community. You've grown it by kind of just like doing the work and being out in the world. And so I think that that's like very important too. Yeah, like it's not like you're like, well, I've done this and I'm just replicating it. You're like, I am jumping into a whole new land kind of
and
thing.
also like mad respect for people that have
Yeah.
built online. I think I went into it with a lens of like, social media, it's like the afterthought, it's like the this, like, is that really the job, And now I'm learning, oh yeah, there's so it's the job.
It's a job.
It's the job.
Yeah.
Um, and that's been, I think, when I started to just surrender myself to that a little bit, I think I've been having more fun with it and it's become lighter and I can see the path a little bit more clear. I had to get rid of a little bit of ick around that first,
Yes. And
you
I think
know?
it's so helpful to say that too, that like there is, I think especially like I see it with people that are coming from another like professional field or whatever, therapist, lawyer, whatever, like all of that kind of stuff. Like there is some version of like, oh, social that I think comes with like that. Feeling like I'm supposed to be seen as a professional and seen in this way. And now I'm
Yeah.
supposed to like whatever act out a skit in reels. And it can feel really weird to like find your version of that. Elisa said, "Oh, I'm so excited for this," and the piece around, and also the piece around not having 1,000 hours each week to put towards the online business because she's still working full time in her therapy practice, I imagine.
Oh, cool. Yes. Yes, I am. I
Mhm.
wouldn't say full time. You'll probably hear as the season goes through, but I still see about 14 to 20 client hours a week. Which is honestly like a pretty full-time
Which is
caseload.
full time. Yeah.
Yeah, which is full-time for a therapist. Right. Okay, fine. Take it back. Yes, I work full-time. But that has been really challenging and also really starting to embody like this thing that I'm growing is a business. This is not just an add-on. This is not a little tag along that I'm like, let's put in
Mhm.
between. And that's been huge. Oh my God, that's been a huge shift, you know?
Mhm. I feel like that's like one of the things that comes up a lot this season in a way because it's so complicated to figure out like because you almost can't treat this business like it's the first priority because in many ways it can't be like it's just right, but you also can't treat it like no priority because also in some ways it can't be. And so I think it does get really I don't want to say complicated like in a way that it's impossible, but complicated in a way that like it does take a lot of like logistical management to figure out where does this live, how does this live, and like how does it both like kind of position itself as a side hustle while also still getting like time that makes it feel worth it. Like I feel like you've had to navigate that a lot.
Yes. And also, yes. And I think like not wanting it to ultimately be a side hustle, but still
Mhm.
kind of operating from that lens. And I've needed to kind of, again, shift my thinking into, okay, even if I'm only dedicating 5 to 7 hours a week on conscious dedication of work time, that is my work for this
Yeah.
aspect of my business, not just like, let's fill in the cracks sometimes.
Yeah. I think another piece that comes up a lot is like business models. So I think it'll be really helpful for people to hear that because, I think the sort of like I hate to say easy because I really don't mean it like this, but like you guys will know what I mean. The somewhat easy way to think of starting like an online business is to do like one-on-one first. That's sort of like the traditional model that we hear, like do some one-on-one, then expand to groups, then expand to courses and whatever. Like that's sort of the thing. But when you already have a full one-on-one practice, it's like a whole other thought process around like, does that actually make sense? Like, even if that could make more money more quickly, that doesn't really totally make sense with your time, even if technically you could command a slightly higher rate. Like, I think there's just so many iterations we've kind of had to go through of like what actually makes sense for you, which I think will be helpful for people to hear in terms of business model, but also just in terms of like, there just is a lot to think about in some of this that I feel like we're kind of quick to skip over.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's also been really helpful to get clear on that because I think I would get still confused. And I was clear that I didn't, and I don't want to fully give up one-to-ones, but I am
Right.
wanting to scale. Like I am wanting to move beyond my one-to-one time as the sole energy and focus of my career,
Yeah.
of my work life. So that was also helpful to kind of figure out like, okay, what am I actually focusing on right now building, you know?
Yes. Okay, and then the other theme that I want to talk about for a second and would love for you to give them like some thoughts on that I really see emerging. We haven't even talked about this though. I'm sure you see the same thing emerging, but I'm obviously like recording these clip-ins and solo episodes on
What
the
is
back
it,
end. So it's
Lacey? Lay
so
it
obvious to me,
on.
but this whole idea of what it means as a woman to like be seen trying
hmm
and how we're like so heavily conditioned to think we're supposed to make it seem easy, but then like we're also heavily conditioned to like have the perfect result and how much those like bump up against each other. And I think especially because you're doing it so out in the open, both in terms of like on social, but also in terms of this podcast, like I think there's really been this theme of like, what does it look like to let yourself be seen sort of like going for it and trying and not having to like make it look perfect and easy, but also like wanting it to be easy. Like, yeah, I would love for you to say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I feel uncomfortable because it is uncomfortable,
It
and
is.
yes, and I mean, I do feel, and I'd be curious about your past coachees on the podcast, just this, I don't know where they have all been in business, although I've listened to a lot, but like it does feel very exposing and to just feel like I'm really just trying, like I'm in the trying phase. I'm not necessarily in the look at what I did phase, and so that feels, yeah, that feels really like a little sticky. It feels like I've had to, it's like this dual experience of like helping me build my confidence while also in my confidence doing the trying in front of everybody. Like, you
Yes.
know what I mean? And it's this
Yeah.
weird, like, let's be confidently trying and failing for people, you know? And so
Yeah.
that has, but honestly, like, it's also been kind of freeing and empowering as I'm leaning into it. And I think I shared this with you before that to me, I have known in the past things that I've developed, I grow the most, I create the most meaningful things when I'm taking risks and it feels least
Yeah.
uncomfortable, you know? And this definitely is one of those things. So,
Yes. What's interesting is what I've heard from past coaches. Michelle's on here too, so she can maybe share her thoughts on this. But what I've heard from past coaches is that it's actually worse this part of it, meaning like the first little bit where we're working together, where it's getting recorded, but it's not airing because you don't have any of that positive feedback loop where
mhm.
someone's in your DMs and being like, oh my gosh, this helped me so much, or thank you for saying that. You're just like, oh my God, I know this is going to go out into the
Yeah.
world. And like, I have no idea what that reception feels like yet. So I think obviously it's not everyone's experience, but I have heard that like this is actually the worst part. So you're almost through the worst part.
Oh, thank God. No, I
um,
mean, there are times where I'm like, oh God, I think that was cringe. Okay, well, we're just gonna roll with it,
we're
you
just
know?
moving on. Lindsay said she's mostly one-on-one and has very little time to grow her online membership. So she's really looking forward to hearing this. Yay. Oh, Michelle said, how far are we into working together? The podcast will be probably about 4 to 6 weeks out, like probably more like 6. So like what we're recording versus what's airing, we'll probably have about a 6 week gap. Um, Michelle said, as a past coachee, can confirm that there is this feeling of wanting to have like a perfectly wrapped bow, but that's just not how it goes sometimes, especially within 6 months of coaching. Yeah, so true. Oh, hey, Jackie. Jackie was on the podcast too. Um, yeah, I think that makes sense where it's like you're almost like perpetually waiting for it to like tie in a bow. I mean, I think that that's so how we all feel in business all the time sometimes. And then I think like what literally does is just magnify it. It's almost like everything you feel in business, then you put it on the podcast and it's like, oh, I would feel that at a 3, but on the podcast it's a 7, or I would feel that a 4, but on the podcast it's an
Yes.
8, right?
I think it's so similar in the therapy space too, especially I work with trauma and PTSD, where it's like you don't wrap it up in a bow
Yeah.
every single time. But to be on the like receiving end of that, because normally I'm not, and for it to also, it's like it's not therapy, but I'm like, this is like someone's recording my therapy session, which I would never do,
Right.
like ever. Like no, nobody needs to see the bow not wrapped. You know what I mean? So, but again,
Have
I
you
mean,
watched that show Couples Therapy?
no, not yet. Everyone's talking about it. I haven't had a chance yet, but it's on my list. Is it good?
Speaking of
Yeah.
recording a therapy session, you're like, this is some shit. It's very
Yeah. Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like you would love it. Um, Elisa said, I have a feeling I'll really love this season as a psychologist with a full career and building something new on this, pretty new on the side. This will be great and love Cerie's energy already. Lauren said, so excited. Yay. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are excited. Yeah. I think that the other thing we go through that I think is going to be really interesting for people is you somewhat of a middle ground. It's not like we started like your niche from the ground up. You kind of had an idea of it, and then you had kind of strayed from it. I
Yes.
guess that's a good way to say it. And then we
Yes.
kind of bring it back around. So I think that will be really interesting for people to hear that conversation too, because what I feel like people struggle with so much when it's like niche messaging, that kind of thing, is the like, I could help a lot of people. And I think in your case, having so much practice and such a background in all of this and having done so much trauma-informed work, like it really is true that you could help a lot of people. So having to kind of like pick can feel really weird, I think.
Yes. And I think the thing that I've really appreciated so much, and I know from past seasons of yours listening, is just like how to kind of recenter it back into, is this holding my integrity? Does this feel authentic? Does this feel aligned? And that was really cool to even feel
Mm-hmm.
like we're not making any decisions. We're just going to practice for a week and notice how it feels, you know? And so that felt yeah, I think I end up getting so stuck in the noise and then I freeze and I'm like, I'm gonna kind of choose a path, but then I'm choosing no path in the process. And like, whose head am I in? Who am I speaking to in my reels, Which was, you can tell how it's
Yeah.
been transforming, since working with you. So that's felt really cool. And I just feel my footing so much more and I'm finding my voice so much more. And it's just that it lights me up.
Yes. And I think that's going to be helpful for people to see, because I think when that resistance is there of like, but I could help so many people, it can feel almost like grief, I think, a little bit when you pick, but I think they'll be able to see how supportive that's been for you, of like once you like had a lane, how easily you kind of like started running down it, right? I mean, it doesn't feel easy to you, right? I'm sure, but
Easier. It's getting easier.
easier.
No, but I do think that it was helpful. Just it's like, this is what you're marketing. Like, this is
Yeah.
what your platform is. This is what your voice is. It doesn't also mean that you can't help other people who come to you that are interested, or if you're speaking somewhere. And that was also like, oh, right. I get to be all of me everywhere. It's just,
Yeah.
what is the messaging I'm putting out,
Yes.
to start with. So.
Okay, so another thing I want to talk about for a second is um that I think is gonna be so helpful for people to get to like witness and like have this like outside reflection of like what I think a lot of us deal with is like I can even almost picture what your body language is gonna be when I say this, but like you are highly successful already. Yeah. Okay, you guys, this is one downside of the podcast this season, I will say. A very large downside of the podcast this season is Cerie is so expressive and is like one of my favorite things about coaching her, because it's so easy to coach her because she's very expressive. She moves with her body. She has great like facial expressions, and I feel like y'all get to miss that, but you get a vibe here.
Yeah.
But
Thanks.
like I mean, like really, like if you ask most therapists, like, how much do you want to make in your practice, or how many people could you see serving, or whatever, you have far exceeded every piece of that. And there is just this piece of you that still forgets to see herself as a successful businesswoman. And that is I think, finding it crunchy to translate that into a new business of like, wait, I'm like really good at this. So I would love for you to just talk about that for a second, but I just think it'll be so helpful for people to see, because I think we think once we hit this pinnacle, we just feel it all the time and it applies everywhere and we never have to, like be challenged by that again or whatever.
Yes. I mean, wow. I almost glitchy, frozen, you know.
We'll give
But I
Siri a
will find
minute
the
to come
words.
back
I will
online
find the
here.
words. I will find the words. No, I mean, listen, I think that there's a lot of different parts of me. And when I lean into the part, especially grounded in the actual work I'm doing as a therapist, I feel very secure. And I've really leaned into like who Sari is in the room as a therapist. And I've internalized it and taken that with me. And I
Yeah.
feel comfortable saying that. Less comfortable seeing myself as an entrepreneur. I see myself as an entrepreneur, but like someone who has successfully really grown something that can say like, I fucking did it, and I'm doing it, and then bringing that into here. So I think you'll still struggling with how to kind of get through those insecurities and really showing up in that same way. And I think, again, like speaking to the podcast, it's like, and the social media that's out there, it's like, I want them to see the end game. But now with the podcast, they see the underneath, the in between. And that's hard. It's hard, but I'm learning it slowly. And I think I cope a lot with humor and I'm trying to
Yeah.
like be aware of that and then also be like, and then you feel the success and the feelings. And it's the and then part that I'm still working on,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah, there's just different times when I feel it more than others. And
Yeah.
in this realm, I feel it less, but I'm starting to.
Elisa said it's giving big expressive Leo energy. Are you a Leo?
Oh my God, no, but everyone around me is a Leo. I'm a Virgo, which is
Oh,
gotta have some, I know,
interesting.
right? Gotta have other risings in there. Like I'm like
Something else is it as
something else because,
yeah.
business wise, I feel quite organized. The rest of my life, I don't know. I don't know. The creative part, yeah, it's just, I don't.
Okay, this is actually a perfect segue though to what I was going to ask you next, which is like to tell them about the creative part because I actually feel like this is one of the things that most drew me to you as like a just a client in general, not even like a coachee of the podcast, but like I feel like you have these really interesting pieces of yourself that you have kind of found a way to live together and like integrate. And I think that that's so cool. And I feel like that's what so many people are missing is this sort of like integration of these different pieces of themselves. And I like really see that in you. So anyway, yeah, I would just love for you to like tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, I went to undergrad for musical theater and I just tacked on criminology because I thought it'd be interesting. But I but I do think it's so interesting to see how all of these pieces have brought me to where I am today because I see all sorts of aspects of it. So I was performing, being a starving artist for like a long time. Lived in New York for 7 years and performed and did some things. And then I feel like I found my way into using songwriting and arts as a means of expression in
Mhm.
underserved communities. And just like, I feel like it was game over from there on. Like,
Yeah.
it was just like, I wasn't feeling the fantasy of what I thought it would be to be an actor. Just, this is better, for me.
Yeah.
And that really just led me down. I could say a million things about that, but that really led me down a path and I created some really cool shit that gave kids and teens such neat opportunities in the songwriting space. Um and so it's interesting. I'm a very different therapist than I thought I would be. I thought I'd be in probation camps and juvies doing like arts
Mm.
therapy, and I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm in private practice, cash pay private practice, working a lot with teens and parents and adults with really intense trauma, and love it. But I still feel like I have these other aspects. I still have my hands in some arts programs. I still have, and now actually with this world that I'm building, it's kind of interesting how it all comes together, and
Yeah.
when you said like bring more of that, it kind of gave myself permission a little bit to lean into that part of myself and see it as like maybe this is an area where I get to breathe that part of me into this work that feels aligned.
Yeah.
Even if I put it out and I'm like, oh God.
What,
So
how many, this is such a random segue, but I promise I'm going to circle back. How many followers do you remember did you have when we started working together? Like 3,000
yeah,
maybe?
I think like 3,000 or something.
Okay, so I want you guys to go follow Cerise's Instagram. Can you tell them what the
Yeah, it's Sari Rose Therapy. So Sari Rose, like the flower therapy.
um because you can literally see when she started bringing more of this sort of like musical theater vibe to her stuff, and she's grown so much since, and like it's been such a short period of time. Like Elisa said, wait, a fellow theater kid, are we soul sisters? Yes. Michelle loves your educational combo, I mean, truly. The artist reawakened. Yes. Love the vulnerability and nuances of bold restart energy, like embracing the Fool tarot card. Ooh, yes, Nova, that's so good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like, I think that is like so helpful because I think like, so when we started, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like I can see like the couple places you brought this, how those were the ones that exploded and probably were the ones you had the most fun with if we like actually looked at it. And so it's really cool. I highly recommend following Suri to like just watch that and watch her lean into that because it's so neat. And I think it's so one of those things where like it's not like you're having to like, I don't know what the word is. You know, like I feel like sometimes we can feel like we have to be a dancing monkey for Instagram, but I feel like when I watch her, it's like it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like you're like literally giving us like a performance and
I
like
mean,
helping
thank
us
God.
run through it, you know?
I mean, thank God. I think that yeah, I mean, I think this is probably why I wasn't hugely successful as an actor because I'm like, I can do this. Also, don't watch me, you know? And so
I mean,
there's my
that's, yeah,
push-pull
that
of the
sounds right.
attachment, you know? Like,
Yes.
so yeah, I'm trying to lean into it. I'm trying to it's really challenging all my ideas of how a therapist is supposed to quote unquote show up on social media.
Mhm.
And also trying to do it in a way that feels authentic, but also holds my authority in the space, that it's not just like for shits and giggles, you
Yeah.
know? Like
Yeah.
I do actually feel like I have really important pieces to offer in
Yeah.
the space that where there's a big gap in the space, I think. So um I'm still trying because as I'm leaning into more fun, I'm like, oh God, I haven't done like a serious one in a while, you know? Uh, like, so I just, I'm trying to find the
Yeah.
journey there a little bit,
Yes.
you know?
Which leads me to, I don't even think we said this, like what is the like population you're serving in
Oh,
this business? Yeah, yeah, I feel like we didn't even
right.
say that. So let's make sure we tell them that. Mhm.
Yeah. So parents of particularly tweens and teens. So I would say anywhere from like 8 or 9-ish, up until 19.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, I mean, there's so much that overlaps, right? With like nervous system and co-regulation and attachment stuff and triggers. But I do think that there's something really, and I said this before, really tender. I know that's a weird word to use for teens, but tender in this particular stage because there's so much at stake. And you also feel like their individuation, which is just like tugging on all the things of like how to hold the boundaries, how to keep them safe, how to set them up for the world, how to stay connected through all of it when they're literally like not interested in you anymore. That's what it feels like. So, um, so I feel, yeah, I feel, and I've worked with like thousands of teens in my
Yeah.
job, and now I have a 10-year-old who's literally in early puberty. Um, and that's been wow, wow, living it with you, you know? But
Yeah.
and I've said this before, like I just feel like part of it is a little selfish because it's helping me really ground myself in being a better parent too, which feels invaluable.
I
So,
feel like the thing that you always say that I think is so like perfectly stated and like always sticks with me is how like it's like the age range where your kids are basically deciding for the rest of their lives if something big, scary, whatever happens, they're either going to come to you or turn away from you. And like that is being shaped in that. And so I think that is just like so important, like how you say that and what you do, because it's like, yes, you're shaping who they are in this moment, but you're shaping like every trial they're gonna have. You
right,
know, it's like, are you the 30-year-old that calls their mom when they had a bad day, or are you not? You know?
right. That's right. And being able to do that where you're still holding boundary, like they need to learn disappointment
Mhm,
tolerance, distress
mhm.
tolerance. You can't just like feed them yeses to stay close, right? So it's super tricky of how to feel comfortable doing that and holding and not taking it too personally, the rejection, but keeping lines of communication open exactly so that they come to you,
Mhm.
especially in tricky moments, which is exactly when we want them to come to us,
Right?
you know, and then what they bring to future relationships in their life, you know?
Absolutely. Oof.
So, yeah, oof.
It's like no small topic, but I think that's why you're so perfectly suited for it, is because you can bring that like lightness and that kind of fun and performance to it. And then you also like understand like how deep and important the work is that you're doing, and that it's actually like not light at all. And I think like you're
Mhm.
so good at like holding the bridge of those two things.
Thanks.
Okay, so I think that's it. So we launch on Wednesday. How you
Oh my
feeling?
gosh. It's like a whole nother flurry, right? Like seeing you for the first time, working, getting chosen, blah, blah, and then it's like, oh, I
Yep.
have to like, I tune in every week listening to other people.
Yep.
And now it's like reliving a little bit, but I
Yes.
think it'll be good. So,
I'm so excited. Okay, so Wednesday, two episodes come out. One is just kind of our first. You'll hear just like more about Cerie's path, like her life right now, all of that kind of stuff. And then obviously our first coaching session as well. So I would love for you guys to tune in. Please follow her, show some love, tell her what you think, give us feedback. Um, if there's any negative feedback, you can direct that my way, but all positive feedback, please direct Cerie's way. Um,
oh my gosh, does that
no, never. I'm totally kidding.
happen?
Do you want to know the only negative feedback I've ever gotten on literally?
What?
It's my voice.
Stop.
I swear. That's like
Like,
the only.
really?
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Because I have like a weird thing. Like, you know how sometimes I like you can almost hear me breathe. Like I'm like, she does a really good job editing it out. So
I
thank
haven't even noticed.
like people have reached out and been like, hi, you have really bad vocal fry. I give vocal lessons. Do you need help?
Stop. Stop.
So anyway, you're probably fine on that.
Okay, great, great. I mean, I can take it, it's fine.
But listen, as far as that goes, if that's the worst feedback, I
Yes,
am
I'll
like
take
thrilled
it.
with it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Totally.
Exactly.
Okay, everybody is very excited cheering you on. Thank you
Yay.
guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Lacey. Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Elisa. Thank you, Michelle. I know you know what this feels like, so thank you for being here. Okay, that's all we got. Anything else that you feel is like important to say or have them know?
I don't know. I'm so excited. And I guess, like, hopefully I can help things feel a little bit like normal for people because it's,
Oh,
all the things
I
that
know
I
things
was
that.
struggling with in this early phase and afraid to ask, I ask. And so hopefully it can help, So,
I just put Cerie's Instagram in the comments if you want it. And yes, I think that is, we actually didn't say that, but I think that is one thing you're doing that is so helpful this season is like, um, you just have like a lot of questions that would be very normal to have at the beginning that I think we're also scared to ask. Like, remind me what a funnel is, or remind me why that, what it would mean to be a marketer full time, or what, like, and I think that like sometimes we almost feel like we're supposed to know that or supposed to pretend we know that. And I feel like it is wildly helpful to just be like, thank you to, thank you for asking that. So I think that will be very helpful as well.
okay.
Appreciate you. So, so grateful to you for doing this and excited for everybody to listen.
You're also very grateful.
All right. Bye, guys.